So what is stress urinary incontinence? So this is leakage when you cough, sneeze, exercise, laugh, jump. That's when you're leaking that urine because of that. So what happens is you have this downward force. So that's when you cough. So your diaphragm comes down and it pushes down on all your abdominal contents, right? And if your pelvic floor is a little bit weaker, it can't support against this downward force. And that's when you have that leakage of urine. So I like to kind of just say it's like a toothpaste bottle or like a lotion bottle. Can you see this, Kelly? Because I just blocked my photo. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So if you kind of think, here's your diaphragm, here's your abdomen, right? And here's your pelvic floor on the bottom. So what you're doing is when you cough or sneeze, it's like you're squeezing that bottle, right? So if your pelvic floor isn't tight enough to, or excuse me, strong enough to support against that downward force, then you can get some leakage. And if you kind of look over here, so here's kind of what a healthy pelvic floor and bladder would, how it would work, right? So you'd have that increase force downwards, right? But your pelvic floor is strong enough to kind of counteract that. So you're not going to have any urinary leakage. Another type of urinary incontinence is urge urinary incontinence. So that occurs when you have that urgent need, like get out of my way, I need to go to the washroom. And it's like you're unable to make it in time. So you have some leakage on that way to that washroom, right? This is caused because your bladder is overactive. So your bladder is a muscle, and what it's doing is it's starting to panic, right? And that's when you get that urgency and you're like, get out of my way, I have to go. But the thing is you can't make it in time. So you have that leakage on that way to the washroom. So some women have some certain triggers that make that bladder start to panic. And that's like the running water. I've had women who, as soon as they step outside in winter, that's a trigger. That temperature change makes them feel like they have to urinate. Or another one is arriving home, putting your key in your door, you open the door, and then your bladder starts to panic and you can't do anything else. You have to run to the washroom, right? Another one is standing up from sitting or like laying down in bed. That's kind of that initial thing that causes that bladder to panic. And the thing with urinary incontinence is that it can lead to smaller bladder volumes because you're going more often and your bladder's not getting full. So this can kind of lead into this vicious cycle of which increases that frequency and that urgency, but then your bladder gets smaller and that signal starts happening more and more frequently too. So overactive bladder. So this is where you may have that strong urge to urinate, but you don't leak. So you have that urge, like you need to go, but you're not leaking that urine. So you just make it in time. So that symptoms are those urgency, like get out of my way, I need to go to the washroom, I can't do anything else, and urinating more than 7 times a day or getting up more than 1 time a night. So if you're a little bit older, getting up twice in a night is kind of normal, but it's not ideal because sleep's so important for everything. So about half the people with overactive bladder have also that urge urinary incontinence where you do leak. So mixed urinary incontinence is like the combination of both stress, which is, if you can remember, that's that sneezing, coughing, lifting, bending, jumping, running, right? And that urge. So that urge is like, get out of my way, I have to go to the washroom, and you have leakage. So I think it was like 32% of women with urinary incontinence experience both mixed and urge.